Hello, Scott Baker here, Montgomery County Republican Party, Precinct 23 Chair. I've got a new video for you here. This one's called Senate District Convention and Election. Summary is the Senate District, or SD, conventions were held on Saturday, March 28th. A small group of Republicans want to take away your vote. Been talking about this for a while, but the saga continues. And I want to make sure you're aware there is a special election on May 2nd. The SD4 state Senate seat is on the ballot, as are local elections and bond issues. There's also a runoff election on May 26th. I'll make another video to cover those, but I just want to make sure everybody's aware. The Senate District, or SD Convention. Like I said, it was held on Saturday, March 28th. There were 231 delegates at roll call, which is 6.12% of the total allowed 3,774. Only 3 precincts had 10 or more delegates at the convention. The largest had 15. Some had 0. That means they didn't even have representation there. But like I said, only 231 delegates were making the decisions we're going to talk about. But first, let's talk about what is a Senate district. There are 31 Texas State Senate districts, or SDs. The Lieutenant Governor is the head of the Texas Senate. Each district represents approximately 1 million voters, as opposed to the Texas House, right, which has 150 House District Representatives, or HD. Each district for the House represents approximately 200,000 voters. Here's a map of the Texas State Senate districts. As you can see, some of them are quite large. This is SD4, Senate District 4, which includes Montgomery County, a large portion of Montgomery County, part of Harris County, all of Chambers County, a small portion of Galveston County, including Bolivar Peninsula, and part of Jefferson County. Brandon Crichton was our state senator for SD4. I'm in SD4. Until recently, when he stepped down to take a position as a chancellor for Texas Tech University System. Brett Ligon is our primary winner for SD4. That means he will be our nominee in November. But while the seat is open, we're having a special election on May 2nd to fill that empty seat. Early voting starts next week. You should be aware of that, and you should get out and turn out and vote. This slide shows the Senate districts that are represented in Montgomery County. The green portion is SD4 in Montgomery County. When we meet at Senate district conventions, we meet by SD in the county where we live. So the convention that I attended included only the precincts shown in green in Montgomery County, a portion of SD4, not the entirety. When we go to state convention, we will caucus together as the entire SD4. So, at the SD4 convention on March 28th, a small group of Republicans voted to take away your vote. That's the simplest way I can put it, and it's the truth. They presented a resolution to change the election of the county chair. Under their proposal, the precinct chairs, which there's 121 precinct chairs in Montgomery County, the precinct chairs would choose the county chair. Currently, the voters elect the county chair during the primary election. In this last election, there were approximately 80,000 Republican voters. We chose the county chair in that election. If you remember this chart from my last video and a couple of other videos I've done, it shows 79,936 Republican voters in the 2026 primary election. So, the question is, why? Why would they vote to take away your vote? Well, they can't really be honest about this, but the truth is, they think the voters, you, aren't choosing the right candidates. Purely their opinion. They want to control the Republican Party. These same people tried to kick our elected representatives, Will Metcalf and Cecil Bell Jr., off the primary ballot just last year. if you've watched my other videos, and I encourage you to watch them and find out, get more details on this, you would know exactly what I'm talking about. These same people who have chosen and put forward a resolution to take away your vote for the county chair tried to use the county chair position to kick 2 duly elected state representatives off the ballot. If you're not aware, they also attempted this with Sheriff Doolittle a couple of years ago. Their excuse is that the elections are being subverted by dark money or bad actors. The reality? It's easier to control the outcome if you only have to get 62 people to vote your way. 50% plus 1 is a simple majority. Half of 121 precinct chairs is 62. That's a lot easier to get those votes than half of the 80,000 Republican voters in the county. Pretty simple math. And the simple fact is, they already have gatekeepers in place to control this and make sure that they get those 62 votes. They chaired the SD4 Convention and all the committees. They control the county executive committee. They have a narrow majority in the county executive committee of the precinct chairs. They control all of the committees in the CEC, as well as the vacancy committee, which means that they can appoint only their people to fill vacant precinct chair positions. Last year, they attempted to remove 5 duly elected precinct chairs for missing too many meetings. The state only suggests we have 4 meetings a year. They made it 12 meetings a year, plus extra meetings and special meetings, and then picked a narrow subset of precinct chairs who had not attended all of the meetings, or a significant portion of the meetings, and tried to kick them off. There were precinct chairs who had missed just as many meetings, but they were on their side. They never came up. But these 5 vote against them on a regular basis, and all 5 were targeted by the CEC for removal, weaponizing the rules against them. Thankfully, we stopped it. But they almost did it, and I'm sure they're going to try again. So, what's the real reason behind this effort? What can the county chair do? That's the key question here. The county chair is the head of the county party. The county chair presides over the county executive committee, right? That's the body of precinct chairs that meet. And one of the statutory duties of the county chair is to preside over that county executive committee. These same people refused to allow the previous county chair that duty and denied him the right to preside over the meetings, even though the law required it. What other statutory duties do they have? The county chair runs the primary election. They are the person primarily responsible. They sign the checks, they sign all the paper, including this one. They're responsible for placing the names of candidates on the primary ballot. What did they try to do with Will Metcalf, Cecil Bell, Wesley Doolittle? They tried to use the power of the county chair to make sure that they couldn't get on the ballot. We stopped them. But they tried. Absolutely, 100%, they tried to remove names from the ballot. What happened in the last election? They almost lost the county chair election. I ran against the sitting county chair and lost by less than 1,000 votes. Which means if I had won, I could have stopped their agenda. They don't like that. They want control. So who are these people? Well, they're mostly sitting precinct chairs. Ironically, they're supposed to be representing you, the Republican voters. Just last week, the CEC narrowly defeated a motion made by these precinct chairs to decouple the party from the Republican women's groups. What does that mean? They wanted to remove any mention of them from the website, would not include even a link to their calendars and their events. Who are the Republican women's groups? They represent thousands of Republican voters in Montgomery County. So they want to cut their own voters out? That's odd. The Montgomery County Republican women's groups literally helped build the Montgomery County Republican Party. And we're going to decouple them. Not associate with them at all. In fact, for decades, the Montgomery County Republican women's groups have been the largest source of volunteers and staff for the Republican Party. What a bizarre idea to decouple from them and not be involved with them. At the same meeting, the CEC also barely passed a motion to endorse the only Republican running in a local school board race against a known Democrat. They voted against endorsing a Republican against a Democrat in a local election because they don't like that Republican. At the very same meeting, the RPT chairman, Abraham George, came and spoke to us at the beginning of the meeting and expressly stated that we need to get behind all of our Republican candidates. The primary election is over, and the Republican Party needs to unite behind all of our Republican candidates and make sure that they get elected. At the same meeting. You can watch it. I posted it online. It's preposterous. We have important elections in just a few weeks, and these people who claim to be the only true Republicans are still more focused on kicking people out of the Republican Party than making sure our Republican voters elect Republican candidates over Democrats. I say we should let the voters decide. We should always defer to the voters. That's the essence of our representative government. We are the party, and we are the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. That phrase is a quote from Abraham Lincoln, the founder of the Republican Party. We should not be attempting to take away your vote, and there's simply no good reason to do so. They certainly didn't campaign on it. In fact, we just had a primary election. There were 10 items on there that were listed for the Republican voters to choose legislative priorities. This resolution and this suggestion was not on that list. Ironically, there were multiple other resolutions at the very same convention on the same list of resolutions that called for making several appointed positions into elected officers. Interesting. They just don't want this one to be elected. So what happens next? The Texas State Convention is June 11th through the 13th, and this resolution will likely be brought to the floor for a vote. Hopefully it will fail. Remember, the state convention is approximately 8,000 delegates from around the state. There will be less than 300 from Montgomery County. Republican voters in Texas are approximately 2.3 million voters. That means only 0.35% of the Republican voters in Texas will get to vote on this. Less than 1% of the Republican voters will have a say on this resolution and encouraging our legislature to act on this. I say if they're going to put something like this out there, then they ought to put it in front of all 2.3 million of the Republican voters and let them choose and be honest about it, that you're taking away their right to choose their county chair. If it does pass at convention, then the state party would send it to the state legislature as part of a list of resolutions. A state legislator could then attempt to pass legislation to change the Texas election code to take away your vote. Thankfully, most of our legislators probably won't be interested in doing this because they know what it means. But I'm certain there's a handful that will try to get this to the floor or wrapped up in some other legislation where maybe we don't hear about it as much. Let's pray that doesn't happen. And I want you to think about this. If a state legislator takes this up, we've already got hundreds of man hours invested in this between the conventions and all the attendees. If a state legislator were to take this up, that means hundreds of man hours on the floor, in committees, trying to get this passed through both houses and to the governor's desk, that could be spent on important bills like lower property taxes, reduced regulations on small businesses, regulating data centers, water rights, any number of things. You know, those legislative priorities we've already discussed. Hundreds of man hours, literally, taken away from that, and probably millions of dollars in taxpayer funds, all spent to debate and pass a bill that would take away your vote. Did you vote for that? I don't think you did. So what's the conclusion? Your vote is in danger. I've been talking about this for a couple of years. The same people, the same bad actors continue to try and take away your vote because they want control of the party. I think that's wrong, and I'm trying to stop them. I'm going to continue trying to stop them. You can help me. Please share this information with your friends, families, and neighbors. Any Republicans you know, encourage them to get out and vote. Encourage them to pick up the phone, write an email to the state party, to their local state reps, to their state senators, to your local party. Let them know how you feel about this. The state convention is June 11th through the 13th. It'd be great if enough people let our representatives, our supposed representatives, know in the party that this gets shut down. Also, there's a special election on May 2nd. SD4 state Senate seat is on the ballot. It's an important election. There is a Democrat opponent. We want to get the Republican elected. I'll make a video about this next week and talk some more about it, as well as the local elections and bond issues that will be on that ballot. Try to keep you informed to let you know what's going on. And don't forget, there's also a runoff election on May 26th. Thank you. Please like and share this video. Post your comments and feedback below. I always like to hear back from folks. God bless you. God bless Montgomery County. God bless Texas. And God bless the United States of America.